Picture two objects sitting side by side on a table. One is a shining bar of silver, cool to the touch, dug from deep inside the earth. The other is a thin, wrinkled black pod, no longer than your hand, smelling faintly sweet. You would guess the silver costs more. Almost everyone would. But for several years, that thin black pod was worth more per kilogram than the silver bar beside it. This is the strange, true story of vanilla. The flavor hiding in your ice cream, your candles, and your perfume, and the surprising reasons it became one of the most expensive agricultural products on Earth. By the end of this video, you will never look at a vanilla milkshake the same way again. Let's start with the basics. Silver is a precious metal. It has been valuable for thousands of years, used in coins, jewelry, electronics, and medicine. Its price moves with global markets. But it typically trades somewhere around $15 to $25 an ounce depending on the year. Vanilla, on the other hand, is a spice. It comes from a flower. Specifically, it comes from the seed pod of an orchid, one of the most delicate and demanding plants in the entire plant kingdom. In 2017, something remarkable happened. The price of natural vanilla beans climbed past $500 per kilogram. In some markets, it touched $600. At that exact same moment, silver was trading at a price that, converted to the same unit of weight, came out lower. For a brief window in history, a spice grown on trees in Madagascar was worth more than a metal mined from the ground. How does that even happen? To understand it, we need to go back a couple of hundred years to a tiny island far from Madagascar, and to one of the strangest botanical accidents in history. Vanilla originally came from Mexico. The Totonac people, and later the Aztecs, were the first to cultivate it, flavoring cacao drinks with it long before Europeans ever tasted chocolate. When Spanish conquistadors brought vanilla back to Europe in the 16th century, everyone wanted it. Kings wanted it. Perfumers wanted it. Bakers wanted it. There was just one enormous problem. Nobody outside Mexico could grow it. Farmers tried planting vanilla vines in greenhouses across Europe, and later in tropical colonies around the world. The vines grew, flowers bloomed, but the plants almost never produced any pods. For nearly 300 years, this puzzled botanists. The vines were healthy, the flowers were beautiful, yet something invisible was missing. The missing piece turned out to be a single species of bee. In Mexico, a specific type of bee, called the Melipona bee, was the only creature capable of pollinating the vanilla orchid's uniquely shaped flower. Without that one bee, no pods would ever form. Ship vanilla vines to Madagascar, to Reunion Island, to Indonesia, anywhere else in the world, and you had gorgeous flowers that produced absolutely nothing. It was botanical torture for growers who had invested years waiting for a harvest. Then, in 1841, on the small French island of Reunion, a 12-year-old enslaved boy named Edmond Albius changed everything. Edmond worked on a plantation where his owner was obsessed with solving the vanilla problem, using nothing but a thin stick and his own fingers. Edmond figured out how to manually pollinate the vanilla flower by hand, lifting a small flap inside the bloom and pressing the two parts together himself. It worked. For the first time, vanilla could be grown successfully anywhere in the tropics without needing a single Mexican bee. Edmond's technique spread across the world's vanilla growing regions and is still used today. Almost 2 centuries later, virtually unchanged. Here's the twist that makes vanilla so expensive even now. Every single vanilla flower in the world, outside of a small pocket of Mexico, still has to be pollinated by human hands, one flower at a time, exactly the way a 12-year-old boy figured out in 1841. There is no machine that can do this job. There is no shortcut. Farmer must walk through the vines every single morning during blooming season because each individual vanilla flower opens for only one day, sometimes for only a few hours, before it wilts and dies forever unpollinated. Miss that window and the flower is gone. No pod, no vanilla, no income for that flower for that year. Now multiply that by thousands of flowers across an entire farm, across an entire growing region. Millions of individual blossoms, each requiring a human being to walk over. Gently lift the membrane inside and press the parts together with a small stick or a thumbnail. All within a few hours of the flower opening. This single fact is the foundation of why vanilla costs so much. It is one of the only major crops on the planet that cannot be pollinated by insects, wind, or machines at commercial scale. It depends entirely on human labor, flower by flower, for weeks at a time. But the story does not end when the flower is pollinated. That is just the beginning of a very long wait. After successful pollination, it takes about 9 months for a vanilla pod to grow to full size and mature on the vine. 9 months, almost exactly like a human pregnancy, before the pod is even ready to be picked. During those 9 months, farmers must protect the pods from insects, disease, weather, and something you might not expect: thieves. In Madagascar, which produces around 80% of the world's natural vanilla, vanilla theft has become a serious problem because a single kilogram of cured vanilla can be worth more than an average worker's monthly wage, and ripe pods have literally been stolen straight off the vines at night. Some farmers now brand their unripe vanilla pods with tiny identification marks, almost like tattooing cattle, so they can prove ownership if their pods turn up in someone else's harvest. Some farming communities have even organized armed patrols to guard their vanilla fields. Through the night during the ripening season, think about that for a moment. People are standing guard at night to protect a flower. Once the pods finally ripen and are harvested, you might think the hard part is over. It is not. The pods that are picked from the vine at this stage have almost no smell and no flavor at all. Green vanilla straight off the plant does not taste or smell anything like the vanilla you know. To become the fragrant black pod we recognize, the vanilla must go through a curing process. This process alone can take several months. The curing typically involves multiple stages. First, the pods are blanched in hot water to stop their growth and begin the chemical changes inside them. Then they are wrapped and sweated in the sun and in blankets, allowing enzymes inside the bean to slowly develop the aromatic compounds we associate with vanilla flavor. After sweating, the pods are dried slowly over weeks, laid out carefully and turned by hand to prevent mold. Finally, they are conditioned in closed boxes for additional months, allowing the flavor to deepen and mature further. From flower to finished, market-ready vanilla pod, the entire journey can take close to a full year. Add in the 9 months of growing time before that, and you are looking at nearly 2 years of labor, risk, and patience, all resting on a single delicate flower that opened for just a few hours one morning. Compare that to silver mining for a moment. Silver, once located, can be extracted using heavy machinery, refined using established industrial processes, and shipped to market in a relatively short and predictable timeline. Vanilla has no such shortcuts. Nature sets the schedule, and nature is not in a hurry. This is why gram for gram vanilla farming requires vastly more human hours than mining the same weight in silver. Every single pod represents dozens of individual human actions stretched across almost 2 years. So we understand why vanilla is expensive in general. But why did the price spike so dramatically around 2017, briefly overtaking silver? The answer involves a single storm. In March 2017, a powerful tropical cyclone named struck northeastern Madagascar, tearing directly through the Sava region, the heartland of the world's vanilla production. Wind and flooding devastated vanilla plantations right before harvest season. Because Madagascar supplies the overwhelming majority of the world's natural vanilla, a disaster in one region sent shockwaves through kitchens, ice cream factories, and perfume labs across the entire planet. Supply dropped sharply. Demand, however, did not drop at all. Global buyers, from big food companies to small bakeries, still needed vanilla. Panic buying set in as companies rushed to secure whatever stock remained before prices climbed even higher. This created a feedback loop that pushed prices to levels nobody had seen before. At the peak of the crisis, vanilla prices on the world market reportedly reached around $500 to $600 per kilogram. Around that same period, an equivalent weight of silver was worth noticeably less. For the first time in memory, a kitchen spice had outpriced a precious metal. It is worth pausing here to notice something important. This price spike shows us that vanilla's value is not fixed like gold in a vault. It is closely tied to weather, harvests, and the fragile supply coming out of one relatively small part of the world. That fragility is actually the core theme of this entire story. Silver is dug from stable geological deposits found on multiple continents. Vanilla depends on the health of vines, the timing of flowers, the mood of a single tropical storm season, and the steady hands of farmers walking their fields at dawn. This naturally raises a question. If real vanilla is this complicated and expensive, why does vanilla-flavored ice cream, candy, and soda remain so cheap and widely available? The answer is something most people never think about, hiding on the ingredients label of nearly every vanilla-flavored product they own. The overwhelming majority of vanilla flavor used in food and drink around the world is not natural vanilla at all. It is a synthetic compound called vanillin, the primary molecule responsible for vanilla's characteristic taste and smell. Scientists learned to produce vanillin artificially, originally from compounds found in tree bark and other industrial byproducts, without needing a single orchid flower or a single pollinating hand. This synthetic version can be manufactured cheaply, quickly, and in massive quantities. So when you eat a cheap vanilla-flavored cookie or drink a budget vanilla soda, there is a very good chance you are not tasting an actual vanilla orchid at all. You are tasting a laboratory recreation of one specific molecule from within it. This is precisely why true whole vanilla beans and pure vanilla extract command such a high price at the grocery store. While imitation vanilla flavoring sits nearby for a fraction of the cost, you are essentially choosing between two entirely different products that happen to share the same name. It also explains why premium bakers, high-end chocolatiers, and fine perfume houses are willing to pay such steep prices for genuine vanilla beans. Natural vanilla contains hundreds of different aromatic compounds beyond just vanillinine, creating a richer, more complex flavor that synthetic versions simply cannot fully replicate. So the next time someone tells you vanilla is a boring, plain flavor, you might gently remind them that real vanilla might be one of the most labor-intensive, delicately timed, and fascinating crops grown anywhere on the planet. Let's bring this back to Madagascar one more time, because there is a deeper human story hiding underneath these numbers. Vanilla farming in Madagascar is done largely by smallholder farmers. Families working small plots of land, often relying on vanilla as their primary source of income for the entire year. When prices spike, some farmers can earn life-changing amounts of money. When prices crash, as they periodically do, once supply recovers, those same families can be left with very little. This volatility creates a difficult and unpredictable life for the people at the very start of the vanilla supply chain. The same people walking their fields at sunrise, pollinating flowers by hand. Exactly the way Edmund Albius once did as a child, nearly 2 centuries ago. It is a strange thought that every spoonful of high-quality vanilla ice cream connects backward through a chain of curing sheds, night watchmen, cyclones, and a single enslaved boy's discovery, all the way to one tiny flower blooming for just a few hours before dawn. So why is vanilla sometimes more expensive than silver? It comes down to a combination of forces working together. An orchid that can only be pollinated by human hands. A curing process that takes the better part of a year. A supply chain concentrated dangerously in one small region of the world. And a climate that can wipe out a season's harvest in a single storm. Silver, for all its shine and history, is simply easier to find, easier to extract, and easier to predict.
Ow.
Vanilla is a gamble with nature every single year, resting on the shoulders of farmers who cannot control the weather, the bees, or the market. The next time you see a bottle of pure vanilla extract on a store shelf, take a moment to really look at the price tag. What you are looking at is not just a flavoring. It is the end result of hand-pollinated flowers. 9 months of patient growing, months of careful curing, and the very real risk that one cyclone could change everything. That is the strange and surprisingly beautiful economics behind the world's second most expensive spice. If you enjoyed peeling back the layers of an everyday object to reveal the surprising economics hiding underneath, this channel exists entirely for stories exactly like this one. And join us next time as we uncover another everyday mystery that is far stranger than it first appears.